My pork rib recipes have done millions and millions of views on this channel, but today it's all about beef. I'll be showing you just how easy it is to make delicious, tender beef ribs in the oven right at home. And if you stick around, I'm gonna take it to the next level and show you my restaurant style recipe as well. Meet me in the kitchen, let's make it happen. All right guys, first things first, when it comes to beef ribs, you got a couple different options. You got short ribs, which everybody's familiar with. Then you have back or beef back ribs, which are a little bit smaller. They come in like a rack. And then you have the granddaddy of them all, the Rolls Royce of beef ribs, the plate ribs, also known as dino ribs because they're so big they look like dinosaur bones. This is a 4-bone roast, essentially. Very large in size. This is going to take a while to cook, so you want to make sure that you do it right. These are also pretty expensive, so you don't want to mess them up. When you're shopping for beef ribs, you want to look for equal thickness. This is how they get you sometimes. They'll throw in one that's kind of thick on one end and thin on the other. So look for something that's uniform in shape and size. And then we're also going to trim some of this fat off. You can save that fat to make beef tallow, makes delicious fries. You can sear steak with it. So when you trim those beef ribs, you want to make sure that you get as much of that hard fat that's not going to render off of that layer as possible. You want to expose this beautifully marbled beef here that we're going to season with salt adequately. What I like to do, whether I'm at home on a Sunday or I'm at the restaurant, if I have the time, I like to do a salt brine, especially on something that's this large. It's going to give the salt time to penetrate the meat. So basically what happens is you season the exterior of the beef ribs heavily, let it sit for a little while. It'll draw moisture out of the meat naturally, the salt will, and then the meat will reabsorb that moisture with the salt, essentially seasoning the meat all the way down to the bone. So if you got 24 hours of extra time, you can season them heavily with salt, pop them in the fridge for about 24 hours, even 4 to 6 hours to get the job done if you're in a pinch. But you want to do that and really get some seasoning in there. If you're pressed for time, you can skip that step, but if you have the extra time, it does make a difference. Now for my simple Sunday cookout style beef ribs, I'm going to show you guys that quick and easy recipe. We got a foil pan or a half pan, whatever you have. A casserole dish will work as long as the beef ribs can fit in there. This is what we're using today. I like to use a wire rack to make sure that the meat is not fully submerged. We already salted this heavily. I'm going to hit it with a little bit of MSG just because it's delicious. If you don't eat MSG or you're trying to avoid it, you can completely skip this, no big deal. Or feel free to say mean things in the comments. A little MSG, a little smoked paprika because we are in the oven today and not on the smoker, so I do want to add a little bit of smokiness to the party. Nothing too crazy, but a little bit of smoked paprika as an initial layer on top of that salt. And then I'm coming with my barbecue seasoning right on top. You can get that at MrMakeItHappen.shop or just use whatever your favorite barbecue seasoning is. That is fine as well. Really thick layer though. You want to create some nice bark on this. Now, if you have a smoker, you can pop this on the smoker at 225 to 275 and, smoke these beef ribs. I have a recipe on this channel from a few years ago for smoked beef ribs if you're interested in that. But if you clicked on this, you probably want to see how to do it in the oven. So we're going to go ahead and season it heavily. Salt, a little MSG, smoked paprika, barbecue seasoning. We're going to get it on that wire rack into the foil pan. We're going to add some beef stock just to cover probably a ½ inch or so, really to create a steamy environment that's going to help these get nice and tender. There we go. This whole cooking process is going to be about 3.5 to 4 hours. All right, guys, so we have some aromatics at the bottom along with the beef broth. We're going to put the rack in there, the beef ribs on top of the rack. Cover this in aluminum foil, pop it in an oven. I like 300 degrees, is a little bit faster, but 275 to 300 is kind of the sweet spot. We're going to let that roll for about 2 hours and then check it. Then we'll uncover it towards the end. We'll glaze it with the barbecue sauce at the very end. You really want to make sure this is nice and tender. So 3.5 hours, maybe even 4, depending on the size of your beef. All right, guys, so about 80–90% of the way done, you want to go ahead and remove the foil. Once it gets to the probe tenderness that we're looking for, which basically means the probe is sliding in and out of the beef rib with very little resistance, that tends to happen around 203 to 205. Really anywhere from like 200 to 205 degrees is like the target temperature. But more importantly, you want there to be very little resistance when you probe it with a food thermometer or a toothpick or whatever you're using. Once you get it to that point, we're going to unwrap it in the foil because the foil and the steam will soften up that bark. So now we're going to put it back in the oven unwrapped, let that bark reset, and then we hit it with the barbecue sauce to finish, and you got some delicious beef ribs. All right, guys, this is honestly a bit of a labor of love, and these are super expensive. So make sure you love whoever you're making these for. The recipe is absolutely dialed in, though. About a little over 4 hours in total cook time. Super tender, as you can see, just shredding right off. I'm sharing this with other people though, so I don't want to completely destroy it because I want to, make sure my wife gets a peek at it when she gets home. And my son, he hasn't had beef ribs yet, so see if he likes them. Oh man. It will slide right off the bone though.